So, hi everyone. I'm here with my sister Debbie. Which I actually should probably go like this because I don't know which side of the screen that she's going to be on. But I'm going to be interviewing her, and I'm interviewing her so that we have some record about her life, but also just so that we can all know her. Some of you know her as Aunt Debbie. I know her as the president of the Big Mouth Club, and and
We made you do weird things, Cindy, and I'm sorry about that.
what's that?
We made you do weird things.
No, I was following you around like a puppy dog. I wanted to do those things. It took me so long to learn how to get my fist into my mouth. Oh,
there's Mike.
Hi, Mike.
It's like this.
So you've got him doing it, obviously.
Oh, no. I just remember.
You mean she didn't make that a prerequisite of getting married to her? I had to do that to be in a club. You didn't have to do that to marry her?
I didn't find out about it until after we got married.
Well, I think you should do it post-emplously or whatever that word would be.
Yeah, I'll try.
Well, I'm interviewing Debbie for a family video, and so I'm just gonna keep going, and you can just keep doing what you're doing. So, and if you want to jump in, if you have answers to the question. So, first of all, Debbie, tell us a little bit about what
truthful answers.
you were photobombing this video. So tell us a little bit about your early beginnings. When were you born, and what are your first memories?
Well, I was born in Provo. Don't remember anything of that, because of course you were born. And I think the home that my parents lived in was a store, used to be the store that Grandpa Christensen, Calvin Nephi Christensen, well, that's where he had his store. And then when he got rid of his store, he turned it into apartments and started doing apartments. He had several of them. And this apartment was the store that he had. And they were living there. And the interesting thing is when Mike and I first got married, that's where we lived as well, was in that same apartment. And no, I lived where I was born. The only reason I know about that is I remember pictures and seeing pictures of the home and seeing Wendy and I dressed up in little frilly bonnets and little frilly dresses. And we were kind of cute. But I don't remember any of that. I don't remember much of anything until Brigham City, when I was around 6 years old. That's where I start really remembering my early years.
So what would you say your first memory of Brigham City was?
Our new home was being built, and we moved into it before it was totally done. There wasn't any yard. There weren't any front steps going down. You kind of had to jump down. It was interesting. I do remember living in Alabama when you were born, Cindy. And the one memory I have in Alabama, I just remember the house to me seemed so big, like huge, humongous. And I like standing on one side of the living room and looking way down there. And I'm sure for a little kid, it looked that big, but I'm sure it really wasn't that big. But the one memory that I have of Alabama is I was kind of a active little kid, I guess. I used to take things apart a lot, not because I wanted to, because I was mean taking it apart. I just wanted to see how things worked. So when I was younger, I would just take things apart. And my mom and dad used to say, Debbie, you're so destructive. And they said, I just wanted to know how it worked. I couldn't get it back together. there ever. But I take it apart. That was the engineer in me, I guess, coming out. But I remember in Alabama, the old cradle that we had, which now Brett and Whitney own. It's been passed down several generations, and they refurbished it, so it's very nice. But one day, because I was a very active little kid, one day I came. You were just still a baby, and Mom was in the kitchen, and she had the cradle in there, and she had just gotten you to sleep. And I come swinging in the door. Hey, Mom! Bash the door, woke you up. I think it was the last straw for Mom at that time, and she looked at me. She goes, "You woke her up. You have to put her back to sleep." And I remember sitting at the cradle, rocking you till you went back to sleep. And that's my one real memory of Alabama.
So how did you feel about me at that point? Was I your beloved sister yet?
I thought, poor Mom, she's in a real tizzy of a state here. Yeah, I'm going to rock her back to sleep.
Oh.
Yeah.
Debbie, could you pull your screen down anymore so we can see a little more? Yeah, that's better. Yeah.
That better?
Yeah, a little bit better. Yeah, so we see more of you. So one memory that I have about you and Wendy. So when we moved into to the house of Brigham City, I had that. Everybody's been to Brigham City, so we can say which house. So I had the bedroom that was Dad's office now, and that bedroom actually used to have like little circus characters. Remember, the Mom made all those circus characters around, and there was. The curtains were that. It was just very cute. Mom did such a good job of decorating, although I don't remember what your room looked like. But Wendy and Debbie were in the room that is Mom's room that she sits in and is her office. And there were 2 beds in that room. And I think mine was a crib in the beginning. And then I think I shared it with Julie for a little while. But anyway, what I remember, one of my first memories about you and Wendy is that you were in there at night having fun when we were all supposed to be in bed. And I want to hear all the stuff that you guys did in there because I was hearing it and so jealous.
Oh, I got to tell you, we had a lot of fun. And the television was in the living room, not downstairs at the time. So when we heard the television going, and Mom and Dad always stay up and watch TV. And, we'd think, oh, when I get older, I'm going to stay up and watch TV till 1 o'clock in the morning, do all that. And you get older, and at 8 o'clock, you're going, put me to bed. I can't do it anymore. But as long as we stayed in our room, they didn't care. Keep them in there. They'll go to bed. They'll go to sleep when they're tired. So so you kept the door shut. I'm sure they heard us in there. Went around. We tried to whisper and be real quiet, but if you could hear us, I'm sure they did too. As long as we stayed in there. But we used to do things. Wendy was very creative, and she used to say, "Hey, let's make tents." And we had these beds. Our bedroom was pink. Everything was pink. Curtains was pink. Bedspreads were pink. We had these headboards that Mom had made. They were great big headboards, and they were quilted out of some plastic thing, and she had done them, and they were huge. They were probably went up halfway up the wall. They were that big. And so we had these great big pink bedspreads. And Wendy would say, "Let's make tents." I go, "Okay, how do you do that?" So she said, "I'll push the bed out, and then I'll hold the bedspread on the other side of the headboard. And then you push the bed in, and it'll hold that bedspread in, and we'll have tents." I said, "Oh, that sounds good." Now she says, "When I say mush, you mush." So we'd be in there, and she'd have the beds pulled out. She'd have that over there. She'd go, "Mush." And somehow I'd push the bed, and then it'd fall out. She goes, "You didn't mush right. You didn't mush right. You didn't mush." I go, I mushed. And we're in there.
So this is the beginning of your relationship.
Yeah. I mushed. But eventually we get the tents made after about 10 tries, and they'd get in there, and we'd have these tents in there. And then we play other dumb games like lay in bed, name the tune. I'm going to sing a song, you name it, things like
Oh.
that. But yeah, and then when we had our room downstairs before it was finished, that was really fun because it had cement walls, and we'd take chalk down there. We would draw on the walls and make intercoms, pretending like we had intercoms in our bed. We talk to everybody in the house. Just
I was so jealous. You guys had the whole basement to yourself, and you did everything you wanted to do in your.
Yeah, and it was nice that Dad didn't finish it right away because we had a lot of fun. Yeah.
I remember when it was finally finished. I think that was close to the year that Wendy graduated, but it was so cool because it was all purple.
Oh yeah, we got to choose our colors, and Wendy chose purple, and I thought, oh hey, that sounds good to me.
Because that's always what we do. Is Wendy decides, and we all go, okay. Except for the one time which she hates us all for, and that was when we had to vote how old you had to be to wear nylons. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Oh, she hated all of us. She's like, you guys are going to be so let's tell the story. You do remember the story?
I do not remember the story. I just remember.
I remember the story.
Dad told me to do. That was it.
Yeah, so it had to do, I think, with when you could first date and when you could wear nylons. And it's so funny now because nylons were a thing back then. But Mom and Dad, being the diplomats that they were, they Wendy was the oldest, so she said that I think she was like maybe 15 or something, and she wanted to date and she wanted to wear nylons. And Mom and Dad said, well, let's take a vote of the family. And so Mom and Dad kind of, made a speech, and then we all voted the way Mom and Dad really wanted it to be. So it had to be 16. And Wendy was so upset with us, and she's like, you guys are going to be so sorry. But the thing was I think that, she was the only one that probably had to follow those rules, because I think as the rest of us came, Mom and Dad were just like, all right, we can't control it, so whatever. But I remember that was the one time I think we went up against Wendy, and she was not happy with us. But pretty much the rest of the time, we just agree with whatever she puts out there.
Yeah. Well, back in those days, wearing nylons was a sign of maturity.
Total maturity, yeah. Oh, yeah. It was like, very cool.
Yeah, I guess now sign of maturity is wearing makeup or shaving your legs, because most people don't wear nylons anymore. But
and those nylons, remember, they were the ones you had to roll up, and you had to have a garter belt and everything.
Oh yeah, so when they came out with pantyhose, that was like heaven. I remember going to, the pantyhose were not real nice like they are. They sagged at the knees, and
they were terrible.
Sagged at the ankles.
Terrible.
They looked awful. But I remember going to the New York World's Fair, and Wendy, pantyhose had just come out, and she wanted to wear it because Mom made, when we went to the New York World's Fair, Mom made matching dresses for all of us for all 3 days that we were going to be.
It was amazing. What she did was amazing.
Yeah. And we all
and she would make a tie or a shirt for Dad, also the same color. Like it was like this man with actually there were just 4 of us because Peggy wasn't there, but Mom and Dad, and then like 4 little ducklings behind.
Exactly, and we are all in the same clothes, so you knew who we were with and everything. But Wendy desperately wanted to wear the pantyhose because she was older and wanted to wear the pantyhose.
And she was so cool too. Like she was really,
So she did. She brought her pantyhose and wore them during the New York World's Fair. And I remember just watching it, bulging at the knees and things like that. And I thought, is this what those things are like? I'm the next one in this,
That's so funny. That's so funny. Yeah. Oh gosh. Yeah. No, those days were really tough on women in terms of clothing. It's a lot more relaxed now.
This may sound kind of off, but an interesting thing Dad used to say, because having 5 daughters, he used to say, boy, knowing that he had 5 daughters, if I would have bought stock in Kotex, I would have been rich by now.
That's right. That was the time it came out too, and that was pretty convenient. I know. I remember. Uh, yeah, the having 5 daughters all in their periods at the same time, that couldn't have been pleasant.
No, no. I remember trying to find time for a mirror, and I used to take tons of time in the bathroom. I know you guys.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You always hogged the bathroom, Deb. You did. You got up late, and then you went in the bathroom, and you were like
there forever.
Debbie had her hair like really high. She had to do this whole like
I had a bouffant rather
bouffant. Look, it always looked really, really nice, but it was like
took
hours.
5 minutes to do. So
we had one bathroom for 5 girls.
That
was really hard. It's really hard.
Yeah. So some of the other things I remember growing up, besides Big Mouth Club, we had Charlie Brown Club. Were you around at the Charlie Brown Club?
Oh yeah, let's talk about the Charlie Brown Club, because that was really, so Debbie was awesome with clubs and creating and making creative ways to be able to enter the club. It wasn't like you could just sign up. You had to have like some kind of initiatory or superpower to be able to join.
Poor Cindy, we had you do something like take a garbage can.
No, that was Peggy. That was Peggy. Yeah.
You had to do something like take a garbage can and go to the neighbor's house and put it on and knock on the door or something. We did some stuff that I thought, no, I think, really?
Well, yeah, I think the thing about you back then is I remember you always, like you always had a project. You were always working on something. You always had something really creative. You'd eat at the dinner table, then you'd go and play your piano, like, and remember we used to put on shows. I know we put on like theater shows, but you used to like learn all these magic tricks, and then we would invite neighbors over and have popcorn. and I think one time I was your assistant. What's that?
They would come. Right?
Oh, they would come, and they would pay a nickel to come.
And you remember we used to do tricks on the swing set, and we'd have this circus, and we'd send out invitations to the neighborhood, and they would come and they would pay a nickel to see us.
They would. So I think some of the sisters in our ward would even come, right? I think like some, like your teachers. It was so sweet of the neighborhood to just come to these things. Of course, they probably were adorable because I think we were pretty entertaining in a certain way. We thought we were.
We thought we were. Do you remember when we used to do the Junior Peach Queen contest?
Oh my gosh, that was a huge thing every summer. We were serious about it.
Yeah, because we had tiaras.
And Wendy, because Wendy's so like good at all that stuff, like she would always come up with these like amazing ideas. Go ahead. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, we had these tiaras from baton twirling days. And so that's what we used for the crowns. And Mom would always make a float with a wagon so that the junior peach, our peach queen could
our
ride
junior peach queen, yeah.
And we had all the neighborhood girls come over and
we judged them.
Walk by and
yeah. So we do the whole thing. We would just judge them and say, okay, you get to be the peach queen. I don't even know what our criteria was.
I don't think it was. I don't either. Who would be best on the float? I don't know. Let's just choose one. Yeah. And they'd be on the float. And
they would be on the float. And I think some of us would be pulling it. Like,
yeah, we pulled it in the Peach Days Parade every year. We did that crazy thing. But when we did all those magic shows, we earned money. We'd take that money down to the store and buy paper dolls.
Yeah.
And I remember you had a box, huge box of paper
I don't
dolls.
even want to tell you what happened to that box. It's the saddest story, Debbie.
I know. I think.
Oh, you know what happened to it?
So many, and you would never keep them cleaned up. And Mom got mad one day and said, if you don't keep these cleaned up, I'm going to throw them away. And guess what? They got thrown away. So I don't know.
It's yeah, that was the most traumatic experience of my childhood.
When
The
you
day,
think
well, it really was. It really was because well, that's like thousands of hours of time making those paper dolls and making
yeah,
clothes, and like there was a whole world
yeah.
there. That was harsh. That was way harsh.
That was tough love.
Really, yeah, yeah. I like Julie's idea of the what does she call it? The gunny sack. Have you heard what she does or did with her
No,
kids?
no.
So if people, you know, if her kids were like leaving clothes out, not clothes, toys out, it would go in the gunny sack, and then and, and then that would be disappeared, right? And then at Christmas time she would wrap them and put them under the tree, and she said it was the best. Everyone was like, oh, I've got this back. I'm so happy. It just like recycled all the Christmas.
I know.
It's a great idea, actually, you
Oh,
know.
it is. Um, and I heard of that. Frank and Miranda did that when they moved. I think it was Miranda. It might have been Whitney. But when they moved, kept a lot of the toys up because there were so many. And 6 months later, brought them down, but the kids couldn't even remember some of the toys. It was like brand new stuff. So
Yeah, yeah, out of sight, out of mind.
that's a mothering tip for
A
everyone.
mothering tip. Yes. But don't ever throw anybody's paper dolls all away.
Just
It's very
put 'em up
traumatic.
for
I would just say I deserved it. I knew I deserved it because I had left them out, and I don't remember exactly the moment of what I did, and I'm sure I left it out in the living room, and I'm sure I deserved it. But it was way harsh, and it was really hard. And I think that was the moment where I just said, okay, I think I've grown out of paper dolls now. I can't do this anymore. So
Yeah.
I don't think I made another paper doll after that. Mom, don't feel guilty.
Yeah, I think Wendy and I were past paper dolls at those times, at that stage.
I was late to that because I really still loved my dolls and paper dolls. Probably, I remember I had to consciously say to myself, okay, I think you're 12 years old. You're going to have to grow out of this because people are going to make fun of you. You're still playing with your dolls. So
Yeah,
I did.
when you
I
get that
forced
old.
myself to grow out of it.
Well, you know, we grew up in an era like Leave It to Beaver era, where you didn't have to have play dates. You could just go out and play,
That's
and
right.
you just played in the neighborhood, and um, you tell your mom, "Oh, I'm going down to so and so's house," but it wasn't like you had to set up a play date to go to somebody's house. You just went.
You just would. You knock on the door. And remember the summer times? Like we would go like to the Hepworths and we would play like from the morning till like late at night. We'd end with, like, what's that game that you play? Beckon. Remember Beckon?
Deccan
We
or
play, it's like hide and seek in the
Flags.
dark.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And remember that summer that I think we had like a whole army, like we played army, we all had our gear. And then there were some of us who were nurses and like we played that all day long and we would like do strategic things. Do you remember that? That was like the funnest summer. I mean, that's what we did all summer. We didn't stay indoors. We just,
No, they were either at our house or we were at their house, and we just play outside all day long. I remember.
Or we'd play in their basement or we'd find other things to do. I don't think Mom ever said, you guys need to go find something to do. I think we never really, we didn't watch as much TV as kids do now.
Well, we didn't have all the electronics.
We didn't, no, yeah.
And so, and I think that's a good thing. Go play.
What's that?
I think that's a good thing. Go play.
Yeah, yeah.
Instead of
We got to really have a childhood in our imaginations, like we really used them a lot.
You remember this at the Hepworth? I don't know if you remember this. The city was putting in some new water piping, but it was these great big, huge cement like pipes, and they were so big that you could actually sit in them inside. I don't know if you remember this.
I don't.
So we'd go down to Hepworth's house with chalk, and the workers weren't working on the times that we go play there. But we'd go and sit on the inside and we'd draw windows and we pretend like they were our house and do things like that.
Well, was I there? Did I do that?
I think so. Maybe
Huh.
you were younger and didn't remember that, but I think back on that now and I think, oh man, if the workers ever caught us, we'd be probably in big trouble. We didn't even think about that. Oh, look, the cement pipes to go in and we
Yes.
in a planet.
Yeah, they were there just planted for us, right? Yes. Remember too, like we used to go down in Brigham City. I think you could go down an inner tube. There was like a river on Main Street, and we used to go like tubing down that river. Do you remember that?
I don't. I
Over
don't
by the temple,
No, I
or where
don't.
the temple is now, or where the tabernacle is.
No, I don't remember going tubing down. I remember up in the canyon, they had a couple of those that we did.
And we used to go up to the canyon, and we used to bring our ice skates up there and go ice skating.
Oh, yeah.
And then we also inner tubed.
Dad knew all the ice skating rinks and
Yeah.
used to go and taught us how to ice skate. I still have those ice skates.
Do you really?
I don't know. But
Do they fit?
sort of. I don't use them because we have an ice skating rink here in Cedar Rapids. But I rent the ice skates because they have
Yeah,
hard ankle things.
yeah.
So
Those are severe on the feet. Those ice skates.
We did learn how to ice skate. And I always wondered how Dad knew that the ice was good and we weren't going to fall through.
Yeah.
But nobody ever had an accident.
No.
So I guess there was, people either told him that was good enough or he listened to the weather and the weather people said you can go ice skating on it or whatever.
Well, I think he'd been skating since he was a kid, so he probably really knew it.
Yeah, he knew that we could go, but it was a lot of fun. And this I remember too. It was cold though. Very,
Very
very
cold. Very cold.
and we'd get back into that station wagon. We would all in our red station wagon up front. Here's the driver. Here's the other person. And there wasn't all this junk in the middle. You drive with the stick on the wheel, so you didn't have the turn thing down here. So there's a place for somebody to sit in the middle, and that's where he had put an electric heater that he hooked up to the cigarette lighter. And so when we'd all get back in the car, he'd hook up this heater. And we all fought for that space because that's where we could put our
so
feet
cold.
and stay warm. And if you got that spot, that was the best spot to go home in.
I know one year I got frostbite on my left big toe.
Did you really?
Mhm.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 Oh,
Yeah, no, I mean, it gets really cold in Brigham in the winter times. It did back then.
so yeah, but those were fun days, learning how to ice skate and going in.
And remember high school. So tell us a little bit about junior high and high school for you.
Well, I remember I went to 2 grade schools because I went to Bunderson through 2nd grade. And and I have to tell you this story because it was kind of like my lifesaver. When I was after 2nd grade, they built Foothill, and so we went to Foothill, and we walked to grade school all the time. We walked to the junior high. We were bused to high school because we were just barely a mile away, so we got to bus. But at Bunderson, when I was in 2nd grade, they had a big field in the back of their school, and they had just planted grass, and they had a big sign that said, "Do not walk on the grass," and you'd be severely punished if you walked on the grass. Well, I was used. I mean, they had a long enough lunch hour that I could walk home, eat lunch, and walk back to school. And I was used to that. Here I was, 7 years old, so I'm just doing my thing, not thinking about it. And before I'd always walk through that field to get to the street that I needed to go. So I'm just headed home for lunch. I'm halfway through the field, headed home, and I hear one of the teachers, "Get off that grass!" And I'm going, And so I run back up to the, um, playground, and I'm looking at him like, I'm in deep trouble. What did I do? And um, I got sent to the principal because I had walked on the grass. And of course, that was just like devastation as I got sent to the principal. I was crying. They called mom. Mom was so sweet. She comes up to the school. Everything's going to be okay. Go on. Because I didn't know any other way home. That was the only way I knew how to get home. And so I guess she got there. So then she shows me how to walk around another street to get home. And so that was and I remember that because it was so traumatic. Hey, I walked on the grass. But the other way around, sometimes I'd ride my bicycle to school. I don't know if you ever rode a bicycle to school, but sometimes I'd ride my bike to school. And
this was Bunderson though, right?
yeah, this is a Bunderson.
I never went to Bunderson. I just went to Foothill.
Yeah, and there was a fence, but there was a dog behind the fence. And at that time, I was pretty scared of dogs. And this dog, every time I go past, he'd just bark. And it scared me to death. And I finally said to Mom after a couple of days, I can't take that path. There's this dog. And he is just so mean. He's just, it scares me to death and I can't go there. And Mom said, well, do you know that dogs smell fear? I said, no, I didn't know they smelled fear. So if you're not afraid, they won't smell you and they won't know that you're afraid. And you can just go by really carefully and they won't even know it. And so I said, okay, I will try that. So the next time I'm coming up to this dog, I get off my bike. I don't even ride it. I walk it. No fear. He smells fear. He smells fear. And I go by. He's yapping like crazy. But I wasn't afraid of the dog anymore. And that I wasn't afraid of dogs anymore because I knew I could control my fear and they wouldn't smell it.
Wow, that's amazing. That you could even do that. I don't think I would have been able to do that because I actually got bit by a dog once when I was running, and I still get like freaked out by dogs barking at me. So the fact that you could just like, that's amazing.
I just said no. Anyway, she got me over that. She got me through Bunderson, and of course Foothill. You had to walk along the way, but we always walked as friends and neighbors. So it wasn't like you were walking by yourself. You always had 2 or 3 friends walking with you.
And we walked in all kinds of weather too. We didn't get driven very seldom, unless it was a really, really bad snowstorm. I think we always walked. It's about a mile, really.
Well, yeah, it was a ways to walk there. We walked, and then on Wednesdays, you probably remember, we walked from Foothill to the church for primary right after school.
Right.
On Wednesdays, and then walk home. So yeah, that's the way we got to school. One memory I have of Foothill is I was in 6th grade, and
Can you speak up just a little bit, Debbie? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Yes, it was picture day, and I was in 6th grade.
Oh, that's a stressful day.
You probably remember some of my pictures.
I think we all were stressed out. Mom was so stressed out that day. 5 girls.
But so the day before, she was cutting hair, make us all look really good. Well, I have like 3 cowlicks in my bangs, and back in those days, you had straight bangs, but mine were never straight. I had to actually every night when I'd curl my hair, I'd have to wet my bangs down and then put tape on them to keep the cowlicks down. So in the morning, my bangs would be straight and I wouldn't have these cowlicks flipping out. Now we curl them. It doesn't matter. It just works. But she was cutting my bangs, and she was cutting them, and they got a little too short. And so they were because of the cowlicks, they were starting to poke straight out. And oh man, I was said, Mom, you can't do this. Let me fix them. Let me fix them. She says, so she cuts them. A little bit more comes off, and then they're sticking straight out. They were like this long up here, just sticking straight out. And I was just devastated. It was like, Mom, how could you do this to me? Well, let's wet them down. We'll just wet them down. Nothing. You wet them down, they dry, they stick straight out. And I was just in tears. I was just in tears. And I said, I can't go to school. I can't let anybody see me like this. You know, sixth grade, you're 11 years old. I can't do this. And I was just in tears. And so finally, she said, you're going to school. I'm going to drive you. And I was late because I was being stubborn. So she gets me in the car. She drives me over to the school. And I get out. I have to walk into school. Number one, the bags that are pulled straight out. Number two, picture day. Number three, late. So I get into school. And I don't remember anything after that. So
Do you remember what your pictures looked like when you were?
I don't even remember. I'll have to go back and look, but I'm thinking that nobody even noticed. Or else I would, because it was just like a normal day. And I don't think anybody even noticed. And so after that, it was like, okay, nobody cares. So neither do I. But I thought everybody was going to go, look at those crazy things. But nobody said anything, I guess. I went into school and everything was fine after that. But I do remember the dreading up you getting there. Yeah. And junior high we had to walk to as well.
I remember that. Yeah. That was a long ways too. That I don't know if that was a mile. That wasn't quite a mile, was it?
No, but it took about a half hour to walk.
Yeah.
School and a half hour to walk home. So it wasn't too bad, but we'd walk to school. And junior high, I don't remember a lot about junior high. Yeah, I don't remember even when I started playing the violin, if it was in junior high or if it was in high school. It might have been junior high. I remember I started piano lessons when I was in 5th grade, and from Sister Smith. She was a wonderful teacher there.
I remember that was really a big deal. Like you loved piano. Do you want to talk about your love for music? What was that about for you?
Oh, music was a big part of my life, and I loved playing the piano.
Oh, keep talking. I'm gonna grab a family album. Just I had a thought.
Okay. And yeah, I started playing the violin. I played the violin in orchestra in high school for 4 years, and the most fun parts for that was the summer Weber concerts that we got to go to for a week and stay at Weber State College.
I was always so jealous that you got to do that. That was really, and you had that teacher. I mean, Mom would drive you every week to go to that really special teacher, that very expensive teacher in Logan.
And I took piano lessons in Logan from a professor there. And yeah, we'd go every week, and that was great. So Mom and Dad really supported my music interests a lot. And that was a lot of fun.
And you practiced really well. That was the other thing, is every day you'd have your time in the morning. You practiced, I think, a half an hour every day.
Oh, I would just, I didn't have a specific time. I just loved to play. So I just get on the piano and play. You know, I'm teaching my grandkids piano lessons as well. And during COVID, we did it over Zoom. And now we're starting to get back together unless there's a week that we can't get together. Like today, I'm teaching lessons over Zoom at 3:30, but it's really fun. And yeah, and my grandkids have picked up a lot of that music ability. They'll just go and just play. They don't even have a special practice time.
I was really impressed with the singing of your sons for your birthday. But because of this story, I just want to show everybody a picture of Debbie. Like that was, that's you at, I'm going to put it on, gallery here. So
What do I look, about 8 years old then?
yeah, yeah. But that isn't she adorable? Your bangs weren't cut then.
Nope, didn't have things then.
But yeah, so that's, and actually hold on one second. I'm gonna pause it because I want to show you one other picture that I have. Hold on. Okay, so this is one of the pictures I have in
Oh,
my
that is,
bedroom, and that's Debbie, and it's hard to see. You can't really even, you see the ringlets though. Those ringlets Mom would make. Remember, with with
with rags.
rags. Yeah, yeah, the night before. But yeah, I don't know how old we were. I don't think I was probably about 3 there.
Yeah,
You were about
I'm
6
like
there.
5 or 6. It looks
Yeah.
like I'm about 6 years old.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
which would be right.
Yeah. Anyway, I love that. I love that laugh. So that laugh for grandkids and kids and people who want to know about Aunt Debbie, that laugh was the laugh we always had growing up. You always were the clown, like you know, you would always entertain us with something. And I think that when things got heavy, you'd kind of like do things to make them lighter. Do you
Oh,
think so?
good to know.
I always saw you as being able to, you know, do that. I was always the drama queen. All right, hold on. I'll get my photo. Hold on.
Oh,
So this is
this is the classic.
this was me.
That is the true classic picture.
Yeah, this was me. So this was the person that Debbie had to rock to sleep. That was so me. Yeah. But there I am, good. Something good happened. So anyway,
Oh, that
yeah.
is a classic picture, I gotta say.
But Debbie would always make us laugh. And then tell us about what you had to do to get into the Big Mouth Club, because that was the best club. Oh, and remember we had the tree
You don't
house?
have to help me out, but
Remember the tree house too? That poplar tree that we had to like take down, but we had a tree house up there. Do you remember that?
I don't remember the treehouse. Maybe that was after
Was that after?
my
That's really weird because I thought we had some of the Big Mouth Club up in that tree.
No, I don't remember the treehouse.
Okay.
I don't remember the treehouse because I always loved the treehouse. I always wanted things that there were things that I wanted that never happened, like the treehouse. That maybe happened after my time.
Yeah, we did finally get a tree house. I mean, and Dad helped build it up there.
I always wanted a race car set for Christmas, but never got it.
No, we did get a race car set.
When did we get it?
Yeah, we did. There was a year we got a race car set. I remember it.
Probably didn't last very long.
No, they never do. That's the whole thing about those things. I don't know anybody's lasted that long. But, yeah.
But the Big Math Club is you had to take your fist. I can't do it now, but you had to take your fist and be able to roll it in your mouth and put your whole fist in your mouth. But I've had braces since then, and teeth removed, and there's no way to get a.
How did you come up with the idea?
I don't even remember. I think it was the Hepworths and me. We came up with, you know, how you sit around. And
Well, Uncle Gordon used to call you Big Mouth or something like that. Didn't he used to tease you? You had a funny relationship with him. Like, he really liked you. He liked your spunk. But I thought that he called you Big Mouth because you would talk a lot. Like, I don't know. Like, I thought that that's where the term came from.
That could have been.
You just froze a little bit. Are you back? Okay.
Yeah.
That I thought you took it from something that he'd said, and then you're like, okay, we're gonna have a Big Mouth Club.
But later in the years, there is a book called The Big Mouth Frog I've learned about. Later.
Oh, right.
But maybe that wasn't until after I had kids and we went to the library. There was a book that said The Big Mouth Frog. We all laughed. And so if you're ever at the library, go get The Big Mouth Frog book.
Yeah.
Pretty
Well,
awesome.
I was able to get my fist in at least once to be able to join, and I remember it was like, but actually Debbie would give lessons. It's like, you got to put your finger like this, and you got to do. It's like she had a whole system that.
We all thought it was a cool thing to do at the time. Yeah, we all thought that was a cool thing to do at the time. Crazy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna read you off some questions. Okay. This is called the lightning round. Um, Debbie, what in your life are you most proud of?
Oh gosh, that's a hard question. What am I most proud of? Well, I would say I'm most proud of my family. My children, my grandchildren, my sisters, my mom, my dad. I'm proud of them for all they've done in their lives and are still doing, and how they're getting through things, and how they're getting through life, and how we help each other. And that's, you know, that was Dad's dream, and that was his goal. And I think we've met that, and I think I'm really proud of that.
I agree. That is pretty amazing what we have. What's the hardest thing that you've had in being a parent
Hardest thing
for you?
for me, well, I guess there's a couple of things, but when I first, when I had my first baby, Brett, um, I wasn't a very patient person, I don't think, but I had to learn patience. And you know me and sleep, getting up in the middle of the night or getting up early was very difficult for me. And
We don't, the rest of people don't know you and sleep. You want to explain?
oh,
Well, I could just say when we were growing up, anybody who talked to Debbie before like 8 or 9 o'clock, it was just not done. You just leave her alone until she.
I was not a habit, and I'm still not a morning person. I'm, I'm better. I get up, do what I have to do. But I'm not a morning person. So 9 hours of sleep is really good for me. Don't always get it. I hardly ever get it. But yeah. Um, so I learned a lot of patience with having my first child. And that taught me a lot of patience through um, just having children and knowing how to care for them. And I learned a great lesson through that. And that was a hard thing. And of course, as you know, as your children grow up and have hardships in their lives, dealing with some of those can be very traumatic. But there's always joys on the other end, all the way through. There's joys on the other end. So,
I'm losing your voice. You maybe need to speak up. Yeah.
there's always joys on the other end, and you know how that goes. You always
Yeah.
see the good.
So, what was the easiest thing about being a parent?
Um, the easiest thing was playing with my kids. I loved it, and I think that's one reason I love being a teacher and teaching young children, because you could teach as you play, and I just love playing with my children. And yeah, I did preschool with them at home, and we play and learn at the same time. And so I think that was one of the easiest things for me.
So, what did you love about teaching, and how did you get started in that?
Well, when I went to college, I was going to major in music, and I thought this was going to be great. And then I took an ear training class my first semester, and realized I struggled like a demon to get a C. And I realized I do not have an ear for music. This is very, very, very hard. And if I'm going to be a music major, I have to have more talent and abilities to be able to do this. Do I really want to major in music? There has to be more than what I've got. And the answer came, no, you haven't got it. our son Brett got it, and our granddaughter Aaliyah has it. So I see those things, and of course, they majored in music, and Leah's going to major in music, but I just didn't feel qualified enough to be able to do that. So I had to choose another major. And as I prayed about it, as I thought about it, as I thought, what would I do? That's where I thought about teaching and going into early childhood. And when I started into that, I loved every class. And it was like playing with my kids again. And I loved every class. And then I got married and waited 15 years to finish my education. And having a family of 5 kids, I went part-time. I had 2 years to finish, but it took me 4 years to finish because I only went part-time. But I loved every class. I just dearly loved it. And so that's when I knew that, hey, this is what I needed to do. It was great. And I loved my teaching time. And I especially loved teaching where I taught at Summit Schools. It's a private school where they cap their classes at 16, which I think is the best idea for everybody, because you can actually work with the children. And I worked with children that are dyslexic. I've worked with children that are average. I've worked with children that are genius, that have great skills. And that I truly, my philosophy of teaching has changed quite a bit by working there and understanding how to teach and work with children. And for me, it was like playing again. Like I said, I loved it. I loved all of it. I loved being in the classroom. I didn't like all the administrative stuff that had to go along with it and all the political things that went along with teaching. They could throw that out. I loved the teaching part and being with the kids and doing those things. And,
I got to see what a great teacher you were when I got to visit your class a few times. That was really fun.
that was so fun to have you do the meditation things.
Yeah, it was so cute. It was really great to see how you worked with them, and you're always coming up with like amazing ideas. They were so lucky to have you.
Well, what was cool was we had Skype back then, and it was kind of new, so it didn't always work the way we wanted it to. This Zoom is so amazing to me. If I was a teacher now, I'd be using Zoom all the time.
Yeah.
Finding people coming into the classroom and talk. You'd be there a lot. I'd say, let her do this thing.
It was fun.
Yeah.
So another lightning round question is, how did you meet your husband, and how did you know he was the right one?
Interesting thing. And this has some religious roots, but we were at BYU. That was my first semester. No, it was my second semester, because I had gone in the fall and it was in the winter time. And Mike had just come off his mission and had been home for a few months. And I was staying at Gates Hall, and he was staying at John Hall, which was a boys' dorm. Gates Hall was a girls' dorm, which has now changed. But I was there, and one of his roommates had talked him into coming over, because How the West Was Won was on television, and a lot of they call them family groups that they divide all the students up in. So you have a family group to do family home evenings on Mondays. And so this group, he talked him into coming over because everybody was going to watch How the West Was Won. It was on a Sunday night. And so he'd usually go over to the hall next to us, because that's where his family group was. But he decided to come. So, and an interesting note, kind of have to know this note too, is there was a girl who had just come. This was her first semester there. And for 2 weeks, before school started, we were all there getting our rooms ready and registering and doing all those types of things. And she had been complaining that she hadn't had a date yet. And I thought, shoot, school hasn't even started yet. Why are you worried about this? But Mike got talked into taking her out by one of his other roommates. And so the night before the Sunday of How the West Was Won, he took her out on a date. We were all so excited that she had a date. We were all standing at the window going, look, look, there they go. They're so excited. And, you know, that was fun. You know, Mike's going off with this girl, and it was great. You know?
Had you even met him, or was just,
I
he was
hadn't
just
met him yet. And the interesting thing is, he had been, we had been in the same ward for like 4 months and still didn't know each other. But the wards were so huge that you didn't know everybody that was in the ward. They were so large at the time. So anyway, the next night he came over with his roommate to watch How the West Was Won. And of course, this girl was sitting on the armchair, or she's sitting on the arm next to the chair that he was sitting in and talking and stuff. And I came down to watch it, sat down on the sofa next to the chair. And this is interesting, I had a voice say to me, find out his name. And I thought, what? You know, back in those days, girls were not really as forward as they are now to call the guy up or do something. And I said to myself, no, I can't do that. Girls just don't do that. So the voice came to me again, find out his name. And I'm going, shoot, no, girls don't do that. We don't do that. And the third time, find out his name. And I said, okay, I'll just find out his name. So I thought to myself, how am I going to find out his name? I'm not going to talk to him. So I thought,
just I have to ask this question. Did you think he was attractive, or was there something about him that you liked, or was it just that this voice came?
That the voice just came. There was nothing that said he's super attractive, he's super wonderful. Look at this guy. The voice just came. Find out his name.
I'm sure he'll be very happy to hear that when this is replayed back.
I mean,
It's like he was just a face, nothing, nothing more to me.
Because even the night before when we went out with this other girl, it was like, good, he's got a date. You know, I thought he was good looking. He wasn't bad looking. He was very, very, very thin back then. And as you remember those times.
Yeah.
But so after
so maybe he won't be happy to hear about that.
So after the third time of hearing that voice, I finally said, all right, I'll just wait and listen for somebody to say his name, and then I'll know his name. So I just listened to I looked over to listen to the conversation that was going on. And as soon as and it was interesting, that's why I said, I think this has some religious undertones, but as soon as I heard his name, it's like bells and whistles went off. And I just knew that this was a special person, and I needed to get to know him. And the rest is history, as you can see.
Well, I know, but then, so how did you get him to ask you out? So like, come on, tell us all. Yeah.
I think I went over and started talking to him because I knew his name now. And he talked back, and I guess he felt comfortable enough talking back that we started a conversation. And he said to me, are you going to be here tomorrow night for the second part of this movie? Yeah, I'll be down here. Of course, if he's coming, I'm going to be there. So, and then a couple of times he'd go run the track. We're telling him about how we met, Mike.
Is he coming in? Is he coming in to correct something here? Because I have a feeling that
We'd go run the track, and I'd go down and watch him run on the track, and I just made myself visible, I guess you could say. And he had already set up some dates with this other girl, so he had to wait to asked me out before.
The first girl that got the dates with him before.
And then after we started dating, we saw each other about every day.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Okay, wait a second. Can I add?
Yeah, but come forward and be in the screen. Have you been listening to us all this time and came in when you heard your name?
No, I was coming up the stairs to do something else, and I heard you guys talking. Okay, so Cindy, you asked the question, how did you get him to ask you out? Before she,
Come a little closer because we can't quite see you, Mike. You need to come in. Yeah.
who else is on here besides you?
Well, I don't know, but you were in the background, so you could be closer together.
Okay, so before the whatever, she said bells and whistles went off for her. So the pre thing that happened was this girl that I had asked out, a guy had come to me and said, "Hey, she doesn't have a date. You'll really like her." And so he kind of built her up in that. So I just went out with her at his request, and I think she asked me out to some prom or
preference dance.
some
It
preference
was a girl's choice
in February. This was in middle of January.
dance. Yeah.
But at any rate, there were two halls in our ward, Kimball Hall and Debbie was in Gates Hall. I never went to Gates Hall. I was always in Kimball Hall because that's where my quote BYU family was. And so my roommate talked me into going there. And I think it had something to do with getting me back together with this girl, but I kept saying, I'm not going there, I'm not going there. Well, they talked me into it. So I went up and I thought, if I go in here and I'm going to watch this, How the West Was Won was the movie we were watching. If I sit on a couch, then she's
How the
gonna,
West Was Won. I know the answer to that one. She just said.
that was the movie, January 21st, 1973. So,
Oh, that's good. That's good. Nice save there, Mike.
so anyway, if I sit on a couch, then she's going to come sit next to me. So I sat on it was a cushioned chair, but it did have these side arms, these upholstered side arms. And so I was sitting there, and of course she comes and she sits on this side arm. And okay, so we're talking. But Debbie walked across, and it was like, whoop, like that, right? So I noticed her before she noticed me. So the idea of
Was that before the go ask him what his name is, Debbie, or was that?
that happened before the go ask.
Oh, interesting. So you were both getting downloads.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so two things. One, at that point, I was just talking to Debbie the rest of the time. If there was discussion during it, advertisements, commercials or whatever, I was talking to Debbie. Well, this Donna finally figures out she's not in the picture here, so she leaves. And so Debbie and I were actually
Way to muscle her out, Deb. Way to muscle her out.
no. So before now here's another thing. If you go back to early September, so this happens January 21st, 1973. In early September, so school had just barely started. I'd been back from my mission 2 weeks is all. I was on campus. I was walking by the Harris Fine Arts Center where Debbie, she was in music, and so she spent time in there. But as I'm walking, there's this group of girls, I'm going to say 6 or 8 of them, and Debbie is in the midst of them, and I'm like 20 yards from where they're coming out. I'm walking this way, they come out, and they go down the stairs, and they go this way, and as she goes this way, I see her. Now this is on BYU campus. I mean, there's 25,000 people on this campus, but I see her, and it's like, oh man, she is really a cute girl. That's in my head, and I remember that distinctly. and off they go into Heritage, and I was going a different place. Well, at any rate, who knows? You're never going to see these girls again, or whatever. It turns out though that she's in my ward. I don't even know that. So for that whole semester, when I came back from my mission, on your mission, you don't talk to girls, you don't date girls. I was not my head was not in a place where I was dating girls or anything like that. And so I don't think I was really in a position to go meet anybody really. I was just going to school and starting to get back into the dating scene, but it was a slow go for a few months, right? So that's that, and so the miracle of this is we're in the same ward, so we are meeting at least twice, Sunday and on Wednesday for like mutual. We're meeting twice a week. I don't see her between September and January 21st. I think there's some veil or something, because why would I notice her in September but then not recognize her? We're in the same ward, in the same deal. So I think there was some deal over my mind, because if it had happened then, I would have come across pretty awkward, I think. Not, like I said, I was just getting back into the sociality of things. At any rate, so that's the background. So she didn't have to get me to ask her out. When the movie was over, we talked, and then I brought up, so are you gonna watch the rest of it? Because it was a 2-part, Sunday night, Monday night. Are you gonna be back and watch it? And she goes, yeah. And I said, okay, I'll see you tomorrow night. So that's where that started. Then Debbie will say, it took 2 weeks and I had to make myself visible. She did not need to make herself visible at that point. There were only a couple of things happening. One was I was so because this Donna had asked me out weeks before, like 4 weeks before, and I thought, she's asked me out for a month from now. Should we go out a couple of times? So I think I set up 2 dates or 3 dates, maybe 3 dates, something like that, with her, sight unseen. I mean, this is just on the phone. This friend of mine and Dinah.
You were totally green. No one ever does that.
To be honest, I think I was just being a nice guy, to be honest. And people know I'm not all that nice. I guess I was this time, but this Ed Eynon, who's from California, and he was extremely popular with girls. I mean, he's this California surfer dude guy. And so he sells her. So sight unseen, I set up these deals. Well, the first date, I'm like, I don't really like this girl. But Debbie will say, oh, that was the competition. Like, that was not the competition.
That's what it looked like at the time.
Yeah, she didn't know what was going on in your head, obviously. That's the whole thing.
But are you interested in who the competition really was?
Yeah, I am, except for one thing. This video is getting really long, so I'm going to stop the recording so that there'll be a part 2. So let me just stop the recording for a second.